It's tips time. Welcome to Training Intervention Program for Behavior Change. Tips for Behavior Change. I am your psychologist and behavior specialist, Geraldine Garwood. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and click the notification bell. Today I'll be talking about early childhood development, and this is a follow up to a series on childhood development across the lifespan. I have done a series on infancy part 1 and part 2, which is connected to a series on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And today I'm going to be taking us through early childhood development and what is involved. So let's start off with physical development. How we respond to a child's physical growth will affect how we relate to them. Bias can come into play based on the child's body types. And so Sheldon gave a classification of the body types of children during early childhood development. He talked about the mesomorphic, where that child will be muscular. He talked about the endomorphic, where the child will be fat. And he talks about the ectomorphic, where the child will be slender. And so we need to understand these body types so that we don't let children feel uncomfortable as they develop, because that can affect their self-esteem. So we need to appreciate them and love them and support them, whether they are muscular, fat, or slender. In early childhood, which is age 3 to 5, and of course some developmental psychologists would classify early childhood between the ages 3 to 6 as well. Children tend to what we call slim down and lose their baby fat, and then they begin to shoot up. There are some bodily growth and changes. Therefore, at age 3, children begin to take on the slender athletic appearance. They start to what we call again shoot up. They are approximately 3 feet tall and weigh a little bit over 30 pounds. The toddler, toddler generally have a little fatty belly like, and it kind of little round up. The belly begins to tighten because they start to stretch up, and so they call it pot belly, and it begins to tighten. Their trunk, arms, and legs grow out longer. Their head is still relatively large, and typically boys and girls grow 2 to 3 inches a year and gain at least 4 to 6 or 5 to 7 pounds annually. Muscular and skeletal growth takes place, enabling the child to become stronger. And there is variation in their height and weight, and that is due to heredity. So whether they are short and more of an endomorphic body type, that is due to heredity. Motor skills, gross motor skills. This requires the coordination of large parts of the body, and they will be able to walk, run, jump, climb, throw a ball, catch a ball. And the fine motor skills now require coordination of small body parts, and that improve rapidly. And so children at the early childhood stage of development can pick up things as well in one hand without the help of the other hand. And they call that in-hand manipulation. So the child have the ability to move a ball in one hand without the help of the other hand. So they move a ball or have a ball in their right hand without the help of the left hand, and vice versa. The fine motor skills include them turning the page of books, using a scissors, fitting a jigsaw puzzle. And so it is very important that we understand this and allow our children to engage in reading, so they are able to turn the pages of books, coloring, drawing, cutting out pictures, and pasting and fitting jigsaw puzzles together as the fine motor skills develop. Handedness. Usually there's a preference for using one hand or particular hand. And this is generally due to genetics, and so it is encouraged that neither the parent nor an educator should not force a child to use the other hand that is not preferred. So generally we find that often that when a child is left-handed, they are often forced to use the right hand. Please desist from doing that, because that can have implication for their own brain functioning, right? And so handedness is generally evident by age 3. So by age 3 you should see the preference of which hand the child uses and comfortable with using also. Nutrition and dentition. As children develop, good nutrition is important so as to keep their body healthy and promote maximum level of growth and makes them strong. So as caregivers, you need to be aware of the appropriate amount of fat and sugar intake. So you should monitor what the child eats and give them less sweets, more water, more vegetable, more fruits. By age 3, all of their primary, or what we call deciduous teeth, are in place, and the permanent teeth begin to appear at about age 6. Tooth decay is a major problem among poorer children, and this is usually caused by the consumption of sweet and poor hygiene. So again, I'm reiterating, give the children less sweet, give them more fruits, give them more vegetables, give them a lot of water, so that they can maintain good nutrition and dentition. Also ensure that they have a lot of protein in their diet as well. Sleep patterns and problems. During early child development, some children will have challenges in their sleeping pattern. The sleep pattern change over time across developmental milestone. Children usually sleep more deeply at night, and most tend to have a daytime nap until about age 5, right? However, some can experience sleep disturbances, and these sleep disturbances can be as a result of traumatic experiences, fear, and abuse. And so, going on to the next point, some children may experience what we call neuresis, which is repeated urination in clothing or bed, so bedwetting. Please do not discipline the child for doing that, or get angry at the child, or rough the child, but have a conversation with the child and try to understand what is going on, because normally when you see bedwetting happening and when you see sleep disturbances occurring, it is most time attributed to traumatic experiences that the child may engage in, or also fear, watching a horror movie and becoming scared and is afraid to share that with their parent or guardian. So, how to help our children develop regular sleeping habits? I am recommending that you put the child to bed at the same time every night. So 8 p.m. every night, the child will be in bed. You should also develop a relaxed bedtime routine for the child. So during bedtime, you ensure that the child have a glass of water, a glass of milk, or something warm before going to bed. You will read a story to the child. You will reassure the child of your love and care. For those who are religious, you can say a prayer with the child, but ensure that the child bedtime routine is relaxed. Avoid excessive stimulation before bedtime, so a lot of activity, high energy activity, games, um, movies, horror movies, or movies with a lot of violence in it. Avoid excessive stimulation before bed, right? Again, keep bedtime relaxed and happy. Ensure that the bedtime is happy. Laugh with your child as they are putting them to bed. You know, have share a joke with them, play with them, you know, while you're putting them to bed. Avoid sending the child to bed as a means of punishment. I want to highlight that one. If you use bedtime as a punishment mechanism, going to bed can become aversive for children. So take that out of your disciplinary procedures if that is included. Bedtime should be something that children look forward to. They should look forward to going to bed because it is a happy moment for them, a safe moment for them, right? Avoid frightening stories or television programs. I think I said that earlier before going to bed. Horror movies, avoid such or telling horror stories to the child. Illness and death. During early childhood development, there are some minor illnesses which include cough, sniffles, stomach aches, running nose. Young children are usually adventurous and often unaware of danger. So you have your young child, they're adventurous, they will go into situations that, though adventurous for them, can also be dangerous. And it is sometimes difficult for caregivers to protect children without overprotecting them because you want to keep them safe, and in keeping them safe you can become too overprotective. So you have to learn to strike a balance where you can monitor children's, what I would call, adventure, monitor them becoming adventurous or getting adventurous, and while monitoring them you try to, as best as possible, to caution them of dangers or impending dangers that can happen if they, you know, go too far in being adventurous. So you're there with them, and I know it's difficult because most times caregivers may not be like in close direct contact with the child when the child is being adventurous. But again, it comes with talking with your child so that they can feel safe to say to you that they they are doing something and it feels uncomfortable to them. Causes of death for children in early childhood. Diarrhea is the leading cause of childhood death. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in children 5 to 14 years. So we see that going across the developmental milestone, early childhood, middle to late childhood, adolescence. There is measles, tetanus, and whooping cough. Acute respiratory infections, mainly pneumonias. There's undernutrition. I spoke about nutrition earlier. Assaults, accidents, and accidents can come about again as a result of some of these adventurous experiences that the child seek to go after. And there is disease of the heart. Sexual development. Children in early childhood are curious to explore their own bodies. And I want to implore parents to be very open to talking to their child about their body. They are curious to learn about other children's body parts and understand the differences between boys and girls. And as parents, you should give them the information in its most simplest term so that they can understand, right? And as parents also, you should recognize that such curiosity and exploration are common behaviors of children during early child development. They ask a lot of questions. They are curious. They want to know. And as parents, you should develop that relationship with them where you can communicate with them, share with them clearly so that they can understand. The importance of play. I want to spend some time to emphasize that play is critical to early childhood development, and not only early childhood development, but as you go across the milestone. But for early child development, play does a lot for the child's development. Play is a child's way of learning. Play eases stress and helps them to learn to get along with others. Children tend to discover new things when they play. Creative plays allow the child to work things out through trial and error. That is where they develop their critical thinking skills and their analytical skills. And so for creative play, I want to emphasize that even for our educators, that you should allow the children to engage in structured creative play so as to develop their critical thinking and analytical skills. Parents can encourage children to work out challenges found through play activities. Another thing that is developed through play is language. So they are able to engage in communication, ask questions, receive answers. So language development is heightened during play. They are able to figure out things and how it works. They will pick up new ideas, and of course, you will guide them as they play, because some of the ideas that they pick up, not all of them may be positive, but again, you are there to guide your child. Play helps to build muscle strength, maintain muscle control. During play, they can use their imaginative skills. So they can use their imagination, and play help them to solve problems. And they will learn to cooperate with others as they play. So play is very important for our children, and we should allow them to play. And I want to emphasize that parents, educators, let the children engage in playtime. It's very important for them. Builds rapport, build relationship, help them to cooperate with others, build critical thinking and analytical skill, build their language development. It is good for them as they go through early childhood development. Gender role development. Gender identity is very important during the early childhood stage, and this is where the child will begin to know, understand that I am a male, I am a female. And so the discussion on gender role should be had with the parents, and parents should not be afraid to engage children in the whole issue of gender identity and how society sees gender roles and the culture as it relates to gender roles. Very, very important. Family influences on child development. The family should provide an emotional setting where children can feel loved and accepted. The family is a safe place. Children should feel secure in their family. They should feel love. Parents should tell their children how much they love them. Parents should tell them how they appreciate them. Children should feel safe to be able to communicate and share what is happening with parents. Parents should also communicate appropriate behaviors, values, and knowledge to children. Very important that you pass on the correct values, morals, and knowledge to your child. There are 9 temperament traits that children have that it is important for both parents and educators to understand them. And as you understand these traits, you are able to work better with the child. And so you have the easy and difficult child, of course, and the easy and difficult child comes with these temperament traits. And the traits are listed. We talk about distractibility, we talk about intensity, we talk about regularity, we talk about sensory, we talk about approach withdrawal, we talk about adaptability, we talk about persistence, stubbornness, inability to give up, we talk about mood, and so as we understand children temperament, it is easier to work with them. It is easier for both parents, and it is easier for educators to work with them. So the parenting strategies that I am giving for the intense children is that you should provide activities that are soothing for these children who are intense. Give them a warm bath, Allow them, to read stories with them. Allow them to have engage in some water play. Give them a little massage, which is a rub on the shoulder, rub on the neck, a rub on the back. Help to soothe them because they are kind of intense. They tend to be irritable and moody, and their behaviors that they engage in are very intense, and can become frustrating for you, the parents. Recognize cues that signal that intensity is rising. So you, the parents, should be proactive in recognizing the cues that this child is becoming intense in the behavior. And you should also help the child to learn to recognize cues that is signaling their intensity, and that intensity is rising, because this will help them to develop self-control. Use humor to diffuse intensity, and teach a child to use timeout as a time to calm self down. It's very important that children learn to just take a break and breathe. Take a break and evaluate what they did. And you and them have a discussion after the timeout period on what took place and what they should do next time around. As parents, avoid escalating intensity of child be reacting intensity to his or her behaviors. As parents, you can become frustrated and you can become irritable as well when the child is engaging in these intense behaviors, and so you yourself can become intense and it doesn't work out for the child. You can end up abusing your own child physically or even verbally. So it is good again that you work through this with the child. You recognize the cues and you help the child to recognize the cues as well, so that they can also develop self-control. And you can also be proactive and aware and prepare yourself as to how you're going to deal with this intense behavior as it arises. Now, strategies to adapt to work with children who are slow to adapt. For these children, you have to establish clear routines for them. You have to prepare the child by discussing plans for the day when routine changes. Because if you have routines for them and changes come in their routine, you can have a lot of challenges there. So prepare the child for transitions, for any form of changes. Give the child a cue a few minutes before the changes from one activity to the next occurs. So when there's going to be a change from one activity to the next, give the child a cue. Allow time for closure of one activity before going to the next. Stay aware of number of transitions required. Very important that you have to acknowledge of the amount of transition that is required for the child to be successful throughout a particular day. And when we talk about slow to adapt children, I want to emphasize that this would fit children who are having developmental disability, even some of the children on the spectrum, autism spectrum disorder, that are slow to adapt and have to fit into a routine. Very important that warning signs or signals should be clear when the routine is going to change, because this can allow what we would call other behaviors to come into play, and other behaviors that can become aggressive and would call for other disciplinary measures to take place. And so, because of that, you want to be very clear as early as possible, parents, as you work with your child, that you are on target. So, you have a routine that is established, and you have cues or signals or even discussions as it relates to any form of changes in that routine for the child. Very, very important that you do so. And so, as we look at early childhood development, we would recognize that it is a very critical stage of a child's development. Very, very critical stage of development. What the child gets during early childhood is what will mold them for life. And so, as you prepare to work with your child and understand your child, you know that you have to be keen on some of these methods and keen on understanding, you know, developmental milestone so as to not make errors. And a lot of times, a lot of errors are made during children development because we don't understand exactly what they ought to go through. And so these videos will provide a clear picture of what should occur within a child's development across the milestone so that parents, caregivers, and educators can work well with their child or the children. Please remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell, and stay tuned for the follow-up video on middle to late childhood.